Well, hello, friends in Wyoming. So excited. Love this topic. To be honest, I love all the topics. So sorry, but I do. And today we called it Involving Interested People in Volunteerism. And the people we're referring to are those who live in the nursing home. How do you like that for avoiding any sort of institutional language? And would you please share who you are, where you come from in the chat box? And please, everybody, I don't know why not very many people do this, but I need y'all to do this at the end, knowledge before and after, okay? And also, if you have any great ideas or questions, in fact, right now, I'd love to know, like, what do you want to find out? Do you have any questions going into this topic? That'd be kind of fun for me to see that. I'll look at it as we go or later. And also, always want to thank your state survey agency. They said yes to this 3-year grant, which, by the way, is rolling to an end in March. That makes me sad, but it's just the truth. And for 3 years, we got to implement culture change throughout Wyoming, affecting resident-directed living. How do you like that lingo? And team member retention. That is what we're trying to do, guys, not person-centered care that is actually outdated, and not staff retention. We want to equalize language. How do you like team member retention? And here we go. So I begin with a story out of Florida. A team I got to work with taught me about Eric. This is Eric, who gave his permission, of course, for the picture. He lives at Orchid Cove of Naples in Florida. He went straight into the administrator's office and said, I need an administrative job. I'm very good at administrative work because I did it for my dad. And guess what the administrator did? Gave him a job right away. So the administrator has said things like this. He comes to my office every day at 4 p.m. Sometimes he's early, but he's never late. Oh, what does that tell us? And in the morning, he'll say, see you at 4. And one time a team member asked if he gets paid, and Eric said, of course I do. Payday is every Friday at the vending machine. So there are lots of different ways to pay people, and we're going to talk about that actually when we get to the regulation, because everybody wonders about this. And I just want to show you, Eric asked for a job, right? And he was proactive for his own life, and it was something that he always had done. I think we do serve a group of people. I don't love to say population. What do you think of that word? I think we serve a group of older people who, for some reason, don't seem as proactive. Now, isn't that interesting? Why? I don't know. But do we have an opportunity to just share with people they could do more of this if they wanted to? They certainly don't have to. But I wonder how much of it is on us for not explaining the possibilities. So another team in Florida I got to work with. I do another grant, you guys, called Proactive Practices to Prevent Falls. If you like that idea, maybe we could do that in Wyoming sometime. But I had a 3-year project there, and in 1 year, this particular home saw the falls. The falls per month came from a high of 23 down to 16. So that may not sound all that great. Some homes did better, but it was a drop nonetheless. And one thing they really focused on, this team, was purposeful jobs. That's what they called them. They had a person living there who leads the cleaning and the setting of dining rooms. They have a person who tends to the turtle daily, and they were able to link it to fewer falls, knowing her. And how do you like this? Several people who live there run the coffee shop. Yes, do any of you want to work there and live in Florida? Perhaps. And they made a point to say that they continued these meaningful jobs during COVID. Why? Because they gave people such purpose. So here's the woman tending to the turtle in the courtyard in Florida, and another woman who volunteers, I should say, at the Cool Beans Cafe. Isn't that fun? Pastries, candy, chips, chicken salad, sodas, coffee, specialty coffee. Personally, I think we need more coffee shops. How about you? Seriously, I even know of stories where people took a job because the place had a coffee shop. I would. How about you? Yes. Okay. Oh, and this will ruffle some feathers. I got a call from a state ombudsman from a different state who said that a particular corporation is no longer serving coffee to anyone living at the nursing home because it's a drug. It's considered a drug. Mm-hmm. And they're not doing soups anymore. Brittany, you worked at Life Care. They've done a big deal with homemade soups, and they've been told, sorry, no more soups. It's not in the budget. And
there would be an uprising.
Yes, and there should be, guys. I'm just letting you know, don't let this happen, even with troubles in the budget. You know, the nursing home itself, the company itself is who signed up to meet the needs of the people who live there. We got to remember that. Now, moving to Wyoming, one of the homes in the second year project was the Wyoming Retirement Center. And Nate Miller was the maintenance manager. He's no longer working there, but I want to show you some photos because this team selected the practice where other team members contribute more to the life of the home, not just the activities team or community life team. So Nate really glommed onto this. You know how we're all different and have different personalities. And he realized there were a lot of men sort of languishing, not having anything purposeful to do. And he created a project where the men could, if they wanted to, help stain, I think, some picnic tables or something like that. And so you see these photos of the guys working on the tables because that's what guys do. Isn't it awesome? And they loved it. And they stayed for hours. And of course, team members were with them. But notice how normal it looks, right? And I'm not sure which one of these men, let's just say it might be the one in the foreground here, but here's what his wife said. He was glowing. My husband was glowing. And he said, you have to keep doing this. I haven't seen him glowing for a long time. So glowing is in our reach, everybody. And the artifact is number 127. Team members, other than activities or recreation, regularly engage residents, either individually or by leading a group of interest. We want to make the point, it does not have to be a group. It is not, but it could be, depending on you and your personality. So this team also, you know, during COVID and the aftermath had different things happen like y'all did. At one point, they did not have a restorative team. So what happened because of this? They all contributed to helping people get whatever restorative they needed, a lot of walking, a lot of exercising, because they were focused on this practice. They also had fun back on 2/2/22. Did any of you do a twin day back then? They did. A lot of team members joined in. They helped plan it. They really went after it. Isn't that neat? And then when the activity team is not there, like they got to go to their conference, it was the activity director, Dawn, some of you know her, would tell you, it was easier than ever before to have people fill in and not skip a beat for those who live there. So now we turn our attention to Life Care of Casper. I did invite the team. I guess they weren't able, it's okay, but Brittany Hull's on the line and she was there during most of this. And so I'm going to play a clip from the famous video, everyone, if you haven't seen it. I don't know if y'all realize this, but you have 5, count them, 5 famous Wyoming nursing home culture change videos on YouTube. Yes, you do. The money that we didn't use was diverted from the workshops a year ago to videos. And I'm so proud of the work you've all done. And I don't know if you've all seen them or not, but I highly recommend it. It will help affect your culture and help teach your team members what is possible. And so here's a clip from one of those videos. We're actually calling them like a mini documentary. And you'll see what Life Care did along this idea of volunteerism. Here we go.
Yeah, so the part of the culture change movement that we're working on is helping having residents come in and kind of help either prepare food or set up the dining room, roll silverware, and any of that type of stuff that normally they would probably do at home. So kind of having a place for them to contribute here.
Well, ma'am, I was raised on a ranch, so you didn't start around too much or too long. You just got out and do what you had to do, and you do it. And volunteer work is a good idea. I mean, it makes you feel good so you're not lazy. Well, it makes me feel good because I feel like I'm not helpless.
Okay, so, oh gosh, hang on. Yeah, okay. So Brittany, I'm guessing you took some of those photos yourself. Could that be true?
I actually didn't. I was gone before they started making the videos.
That's okay.
But was definitely there in the process.
Yeah. So Brittany, let's start with, how did you guys select this as a artifact you wanted to work on?
So actually one of the residents featured in the video wanted to be able to do things. She literally beating down the doors. And I know Larissa's on as well. She can vouch.
Right.
She would literally beat on the doors because she wanted to help set up activities. She wanted to do more. She would actually like to be able to have the roster and help get people out of the building during fire drills.
Wow.
And things like that. So they came to us and wanted to be able to contribute to their community.
Well, isn't that interesting? I just shared a story out of Florida. Same thing. He came to administrator. Good for them. Was the woman you're speaking of, was she in the video at all?
Yes.
Was it Ida?
It's Iva, yes.
Okay. I was guessing. So so that's how you chose it. And then what happened? What you were there at this point, in the beginning. What came? Like, did you talk about it? Did people have ideas? Did you suggest ideas?
We started talking, I took it to our morning meeting, started kind of talking to everybody about it. The picture that's actually up, the slide, that's Maruja, and she has probably mid-range dementia at the time. And she grew up in a culture, in a home where you don't stop. And so she wanted to contribute, and she was actually being told, no, get out of the dining room. You need to go to your room. You need to leave them alone. Stop pushing wheelchairs. And so doing things that were simple, putting silverware out, putting out the glasses, rolling silverware, folding laundry. She would do all of those things happily. And then the things that people were irritated about, behaviors, and, well, she's, we can't keep her out of these other things. Those started to slow down because you were giving her the opportunity to serve, and that got rid of that negative energy.
Yeah, for sure. Wonderful. Let's see. So tell us more. What jobs, what volunteer opportunities?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So we started having them help set up the dining room, or take a load of laundry, or take them to the back and they would help fold laundry, help in the ice cream shop that we had at the time, water plants, help clean the bird aviary, all kinds of different things. We even had a gentleman who would go around and help fix call lights and different stuff like that with our maintenance crew.
Oh, good for you guys. Now, what takes me aback, everyone, is realizing how these dear people have so much time on their hands. So first of all, we're helping fill it if they want to, right? With meaning and purpose. But second, what strikes me, Brittany, is because they have time, they're not in a rush. Like, they can go back to the tablecloth and fix it. I just love that. I feel like we don't have time to do that, even though we might want to, and they can. They have the luxury of getting it right. Isn't that neat to think about? I have a similar story, everyone. In California, a home had a thriving, like, vegetable farm. I mean, I think we could call it that. I think they called it the farm. They would harvest and take it to a low income senior housing to give it away for free. But back to the gardens, same thing. A woman was like inspecting every single green bean to see if it was ready. And again, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do that, but they do. Isn't that neat? Oh, so cool.
Can I add something too, Carmen?
Yeah, please, Larissa, whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, so I love that you guys are showcasing the nursing home that I came from as well. And I think the one thing that we sometimes don't think about is the impact that, some of the other community members, as they're watching some of the folks who are able to do more, that incentivizes them. They, even the folks who are there for therapy, and they're seeing those folks, active and working and giving, in a way, giving back. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, it was a side effect, a good side effect of the change. So
I love that. I love that.
For sure.
Yeah. Let's see now. What else, guys? Let's see. I want to talk about, actually, I think I have it coming up. Hang on. Brittany, you're now famous to me. I love your quote. I say it all the time. Why don't you say it how you want to say it?
Which quote?
It's on the bottom there, kind of.
Oh,
it's in the video.
It's not helping. That they should be contributing. It's their community. It's their home.
Yeah, they're not helping us. Isn't that beautiful, guys? And I love how you say they're not cooking activities.
Yes.
Yeah, this is real life. Thank you, Brittany. I love that. Let's see. They have so many things now, everyone, probably because they focused on this practice, that towards the end of the video, I hope you saw, they actually have a class now. Who has a class to tell people who live there all the volunteer opportunities? Do any others of you have classes? So way to go. Larissa, Brittany, you're part of that story. We've thanked, Tammy Morrison and team as well. Oh, so exciting. I just love what you've done there. Okay. And another home that was in this project, year one, There's a whole 60-minute documentary on Star Valley. I highly recommend you watch it, everyone, on YouTube. And this is part of their story as well. They chose that second artifact to create individualized volunteering for people who are interested.
I'm
And
sharing those videos in the chat, Carmen.
Oh, thank you, Brittany. Go, Brittany. I'm going to have them on a slide too, but that's even better. Thank you. A link. So this woman, everyone, that helps. Ha! Woo! Caught myself, Brittany. This woman who lives there puts up the monthly calendar, and she will not let anyone else have that job. Once again, see, there is so much power in the purpose and value we all have from having a job. And then the woman on the right is also very proud to disinfect the bingo cards every time. And then another woman tended to the flowers throughout the building. And look at the quote, everyone. I can't get over how I have heard the word glow, I think 3 times when it comes to this idea of having a job or having the opportunity to volunteer and contribute to my home. She just glows, Pam Sprecher would always say. So I want to show you this. Now, we zoomed by this, but the dietitian at Life Care of Casper was talking about how we are actually also intentionally giving people who live there the opportunity to prepare food. And I want to show you, this is because they chose this artifact as well. Residents are supported to prepare and or serve food per their preferences and ability, in addition to, this does not mean a cooking activity. So isn't that big, guys? Isn't that daring? And Brittany and Larissa, if you'd like to speak to it first, I'm sure it was hard. And they really even didn't get that far, to be honest, but that's okay. You know, it takes time. Plus we had lots of COVID setbacks, but anything you guys would tell us about that?
Excuse me, I would agree. This one was probably the second hardest one to get everybody to wrap their head around. And we hit lots of barriers. I think partly because it was during COVID, but there were a lot of barriers, a lot of trying to get around people thinking safety. The only thing that they would throw my direction was safety. They can't handle knives. They can't be around the hot oven. They can't they can't touch that. It's hot. And so trying to work around that and say, okay, hold on. We don't have to, you don't have to start there, but there are other things. They can scoop things and make sandwiches and stir soup. There's all kinds of things that they can do. It doesn't have to be the pointy stabby object,
right?
And it doesn't have to be the fryer, but there's so many things that they can do.
Yeah, and I have to say, I was part of that group of extra concern. I was back in the system for a little bit.
Of course you were. It's normal.
Yeah. I just remember, I think it takes a shift, right? And it's, in my role at the nursing home, a lot of the safety components, and then I guess identifying which community members could do what. I think that it needed to be a big conversation. And so, and I think it took us all literally sitting around the same table and having a come to Jesus meeting, and Carmen kind of directed and kind of reassured in some ways, like, you know what, maybe take a step back, kind of build the process and seeing what each person can and should not to do. And just, one thing at a time. And so it evolved. How's that sound?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So, one thing I've learned, everyone, having been a surveyor, is really what both of you just said. Like, start small then. Baby steps, right? What everyone is comfortable. Like, for instance, you saw a lot of setting the table, clearing the table. Okay, we're beginning to touch things in the dining room, right? And hang on, I have too many thoughts in my head. Another thing I like to suggest you all apply when you start to think about stuff like this is simply common sense, okay? If I am known to pick my nose, I am not the person to invite to put the peanut butter sandwiches in the baggies, okay? But Could I clear the tables? Yes. Okay. And that's what you both just said, to figure out who can do what, right? It's great. It's not that hard. And I say, stop there, guys. We live in such a crazy world that puts almost too much emphasis on safety. You know, I haven't really said that much in our years together, but in our culture change movement, smart people like Dr. Bill Thomas have said, you know what it really is? It's surplus safety. Wow. It's like too much safety. Isn't that crazy? Can there be a place where there's too much safety? I think so. And, you know, to be honest, it stems from probably, you know, feeling like you're going to get in trouble, right? Survey, litigation. And so all the more reason to talk about things as a team, take baby steps to go in it together. I hate to say this, we used to hear this more years ago, but sometimes if people don't agree, they might sabotage a good idea. Sadly, true, you know? So the more you do it as a group and start to talk about people's worries and the barriers. So back to Life Care of Casper, they really are just doing a few food related things. And like Brittany said, it's with tongs, it's with gloves, it's with no one's touching the food, right? Isn't that great? So if they can do it, you can do it. I'm so proud of you all. And there's another artifact that dovetails with this. Each resident's care plan includes what brings meaning and purpose to the individual, such as community service, volunteerism, and other individual pursuits. And I'm happy to tell you that a team from this year, Platte County, chose that particular artifact. Isn't that neat? So they're starting to ask people when they move in and then during care conference, you know, how would you say what brings meaning and purpose to your life? And you know darn well, probably volunteerism is going to grow in their building as well. I would just predict that. We'll see. Here's a true story of a man living in a nursing home who picked up the paint roller and started painting. It's his house, right? And they all realized, why not? And I'm ashamed to tell you all, in the late 90s, I remember seeing a man outside at some nursing home on a nice day with a roller and touching the wooden fence. And guess what was in that pan? It was not paint. Who could guess what it was? Water. That's right. And I remember thinking it was cool. And I'm ashamed because that's fake, everyone. We do not want to give fake. Don't have someone, you know, paint fake. And if that man can't paint for real, then you find what he can do, right? And by the way, did you know that even in the regulations, I'll show you here, right here, at tag 679 activities, the activities reg, okay, under intent, did you know that the 7 domains of well-being as identified by the Eden Alternative are there? Look at this, to create opportunities for each resident to have meaningful life by supporting their domains of wellness. Oh, and actually that's an old rendition. It should say well-being, and they've now given credit to Eden right there. But what they are: security, autonomy, growth, connectedness, identity. I'm a painter, maybe, joy, and meaning. And so I want to go back to this photo. You know, I think in this story, they use the word glowing again, you know? And so, Patrick, you're on the line. We asked a man who lives in Sheridan at Bighorn, who's working with Patrick and the team. He's on the Culture Change Committee. We asked him what brings him joy. And Patrick, are you able to unmute and say what he said? If you're there. If not, I'll do it. Patrick, it's okay. Everyone, I was there. We said, hey, Joe, what brings you joy? And Joe said this: being involved, being able to help make decisions and think and talk. It's way better than sitting in my room by myself. And there it is again, contributing, right? So let that guide you. Tag 679. It's in the regs, the 7 domains of well-being. If you want to learn more, there's 2 resources. Dr. Al Power wrote a book about these domains. It's called The Dementia Beyond Disease, Enhancing Well-Being. It's the 7 domains, a whole book. That's his attempt at, showing, this isn't technical, but his attempt was, some are like closer to us, maybe like Maslow's hierarchy, maybe needed before the others. I guess he's gotten criticism. Don't worry about this. But what I love is joy is like the pinnacle, right? When you have all the others, you probably have joy. Anyway, another resource that's not on the slide, if you go to the Eden Alternative, you will find the 7 domains of well-being, and you can learn more that way too. So now, wait till you hear this. I'm kind of speechless. The robotic cats, the robotic dogs, that's not volunteerism, right? Here are people with dementia who live in a locked memory care assisted living, who took care of little kittens that were found. And y'all know, how often does a little kitten need to be fed? Any guesses? How often? I'm trying to move stuff on my screen.
Every 2 hours.
Oh, you're so smart, Brittany. Guess who got up during the night to feed the kittens? Talk about meaning and purpose, man. And see this robotic cat, this fake cat on the couch at a nursing home I used to go be with people who live there. Lots of different people touch that thing. And I'm kind of curious, speaking of safety, if anyone's ever done an infection control study on those guys. That's interesting, huh? Okay, here comes another wonderful video. Wait till you see this. Talk about meaning and purpose and volunteerism. Oh no, don't tell me it's not going to work. Oh no. Oh no. I'm so sorry. I should have double checked it. It's not playing. I'm sad. Let's see. This is called a canine adoption project. And it's, I'm trying to use the better language myself. Rather than resident led, it is led by the people who live there. And I'm trying to think if I could find it and play it, even though I goofed here. I really would like y'all to see it. So maybe towards the end when we're talking more, I could figure that out. But
Carmen, I got residents or people in homes adopting animals. Did you guys hear about the dog that kept escaping from the shelter and letting himself into a home to the point where the home was like, we'll just keep him, guys. Like, he's ours now.
Yes. Who's talking? I'm sorry.
From Mount Pacific, sorry.
No. Who was it, Callie?
Jamie.
Oh, hey, Jamie. Would you please tell everyone about that while I try to find this, okay?
Yeah, Brittany, your emotion. I don't remember where this happened at, but there was a dog that was in a animal shelter and he kept escaping, and he went, I remember how far away it was, but he kept letting himself into this home, like just waltzed in like he belonged. And it happened multiple times to the point where administration they all agreed that this dog belongs there. And the residents, they made comments about how happy they were there, because they now have this animal that they get to share. And he's just as happy as can be with all of these people loving on him every single day now.
Yep.
I'm trying to search for the video that Carmen's looking for on YouTube, and Jamie, that story is the only thing coming up. There's like 15 different clips, and I heard the exact same. I saw it on Denver News or something.
What facility was that?
I don't remember. But yeah, it happened over the course of a couple of weeks, and they kept taking him back, and he would break out and come right back.
Yeah, within hours.
Yeah. So they just brought him home.
Yep. It happened like maybe 3 times over and over, and they finally. Okay,
it happened like 10 times.
Why do you suppose a dog kept going there?
He knew he was needed.
Well, and he knew that people were there that could love on him. Remember what I just said about people have time? Isn't that interesting? It makes some of us so sad that most nursing homes, not you guys, act like there's no way we could do that. And I'd like you all, here's a higher level of thought, everyone. If your team, your culture says there's no way we could take care of an animal, what is it also saying, actually, without saying it out loud?
That we probably aren't really taking care of our people.
Well, you know, I might get criticism. I never mean to be hard on you all. It's the culture, right? It's the institutional culture. And like when we give a fake dog instead of a real one, I'm afraid that all can be the message, right? Even though perhaps we think we're doing something, that's another thing that plagues an institution. Well, at least we're doing something. And we all have to grapple with, is something better than nothing? I don't know. Is it? Maybe you want to say yes in some cases, but then I also say, how did those fake things even get in there? Do you have a fake dog at your house? Like, why did we even put him there, you know? And then sadly, there's the stigma of dementia. Are we helping move against it, or are we contributing to it, you know? And once again, with all these people who have time on their hands, of course, dogs and cats and birds can be taken care of. And many, many homes have done it way before any of you. And I finally found it, so we're going to play it now. I'm sorry for being messy with this today, but it's okay. We're all in this together, aren't we? It's actually a different PowerPoint. I'll just have to slip in and out, but it's okay. Here we go. It's so amazing. Here we go. We got it.
Back at 6:50, and he's been adopted. Talking about Bootsy, the shelter dog chosen to participate in a never-before-done senior canine adoption program, and now Bootsy has a forever home.
Yeah, Tabitha's been following the story since they began this program and through to now, and I know it's been a really cool story to follow, Tab.
It has been such a fun story to follow, and it's such a happy time, but it's kind of a bittersweet moment also because Bootsy is leaving behind his foster friends, and they are terribly sad to see him leave, but they're tremendously happy to see him go to a warm and loving home, and this isn't it. They're looking forward to their next foster dog.
Get your tissues.
How much is that dog in the window?
This might have been the moment.
I hope that dog is for sale.
The moment Melissa Roberts fell in love with Bootsy.
I wanted to adopt him. I wanted to make sure that he had a loving home. I knew with my girls and I that he would have a loving home.
You may remember Bootsy, a malnourished 10-year-old spaniel without a place to call home.
There's not too many people that are looking to adopt 10-year-old animals.
That was until Bootsy was selected for the Senior Canine Adoption Program. An unprecedented program, the first in the nation, pairing senior canines with elder members of our community.
Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you can't have meaning and purpose to your life. And just because you live in a long-term care community doesn't mean you can't have purpose in your life.
Residents at the Rehabilitation Center of Bakersfield cared for Bootsy in every way. Staff stood back as Bootsy was nursed back to health.
I'm so proud of this residents. When we got Bootsy, it was like 11.5 pounds. Within like 2-3 weeks, it was like 16.5 pounds.
Bootsy gave these residents a reason to get up and get to work every morning.
Thank you for calling the Senior Canine Adoption. Would you like to adopt Bootsy?
After roughly 2 months, the right call came.
What day and time would you like to come in? She just seems so sincere and so excited.
The residents met with the Roberts family, eventually voting on whether or not to let Bootsy go.
Oh, that was hard. But I knew when she walked in, you know, and started petting and the way she was petting, and I knew she was one.
I'm just glad that they chose us as the, to bring him to our family, to give him lots of love.
Deserving love to an old stray who transformed this nursing home.
Let's go, let's go. Come on. It gave me a lot of purpose, a lot of purpose.
Well, it's wonderful because we just live here with, we exist from day to day, and this gives us something to do, to be proud of.
Although Bootsy is leaving, this is not the end of the Senior Canine Adoption Program.
There has to be a beginning, and this is a beginning, and that we can go on, and someday when all of us are gone, that we'll be remembered for our love for our doggies. How much is that doggy?
Every time, Tab. Every time. It gets me.
Such a precious story. And the residents at the Rehabilitation Center of Bakersfield are already looking into another senior shelter dog to foster and help find that dog a home. And the program was such a success that they're actually branching this out to other Rockport Health nursing homes throughout the state of California. So it's starting up in Pasadena
so cool.
in about a week. Yeah, it's really
amazing.
neat. And I'm looking forward to continually following these dogs
Yeah,
that they
each
get
one.
and
Why
how they're
not?
helping.
Why
Yeah.
not?
The thing that touched me too, she said we exist. You know, a lot of these folks are in these homes, and you know they need this type of support.
They do.
You know, it's a great program.
Yeah,
I wanted Bootsy myself. If I didn't have 3 dogs of my own, I would have been like, oh, I want that dog.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, great
Bootsy's got a
story.
good home now, though.
Okay, I have so much to share with you all. This particular group, Rockport, actually first did the homeless shelter making food at the nursing home, and then transporting it and going and getting out and serving it to people struggling and coming to the homeless shelter to eat. And get this, 80 homes in California did that. And then they looked like, hey, what else could we do? And that's when this canine idea began. If they can do it, you can do it. Some things we've learned about animals, guys. Now, you might have someone deathly allergic and you just can't do a certain animal. We understand that. But let me tell you some hope that we've learned. Pet dander tends to be cleaned up really well in a nursing home. Why? Because we clean a nursing home every day. We don't clean our homes every day. It might even be better. Also, people, as we get older, our allergies tend to dissipate. And, you know, most animals, we've learned, they know who loves them and they know who does not love them. We've learned, be careful with puppies. You probably don't want to do a puppy only because they're more erratic. One time in Wyoming, even though the administrator went through the resident council and they all agreed on the puppy, sadly, the puppy scratched up a woman with her frail skin. And sadly, a nurse called it in as a dog attack, which tells you something the Eden Alternative teaches us. It's to warm the soil. Because, you know, in this weird culture, like we said, you got to get everyone talking and everyone discussing their worries. And then it went on that administrator's license as a problem. Isn't that sad? We don't want that. And let me show you one other.
Back at 6:50.
Quick, very quick. Look at the benefit. Watch this.
Oh, well, hey, you got something. You got something, huh? Yeah, well, that's too bad. So I'll take you, and you take me.
The Eden Alternative reminds us that animals, children, and living plants give people the opportunity to give care rather than only receive care all day long. And they are also the antidote to loneliness, boredom, and helplessness, or can be. So I got to keep moving now. Speaking of fake things, I'd like you to think about what else is fake in the institutional culture. How many of us have given people the fake towels to fold, and then we thank them and we basically we almost hide and bring them back, right? And one time I was talking about this in South Dakota many years ago now, and someone in the crowd said, "Hey, that just happened yesterday." You know what she said? The woman we were giving the fake towels to, even though she has dementia, she said, "Hey, I just folded these damn towels." I think it's funny because it's her quote, not mine. And people with dementia, they know stuff. So wouldn't you rather have a real person folding the real linen napkins for the other real people at the real meal coming up? And so I just want to call out, think about what's fake in the places that you represent. Near beer is not real beer. Mocktails are not real cocktails. Silk plants are not real plants. The baby dolls, personally, I think we all need to work together to get more real babies in there. Most people love babies. Isn't there research about smelling their heads, right? And it can't just be your activity team. You know why? Because they don't know enough babies at one given time, but all together, you might know one and I might know one. And then we got to work on making it comfortable for people to come with their babies and live life together, right? By the way, here's a quote I was looking up. Back to that dog story. It's out of the New York Times that the dog kept wanting to stay and live at the nursing home. A friend who's a gerontologist texted me and said, humans avoid nursing homes, yet the dog knew there was something special there. And Larissa, you said it too. The dog knew he was needed. And then you just saw that other clip. The man needed the dog needs the man. You guys, we have so much potential in the walls of a nursing home. And then also, I've heard this too, like when you start to give back real life to people, be proud of it. I've heard people say they don't know what to do with it. So like that maintenance man, he didn't know what to say, but at one point he called him, well, we have some little activities. See, he's nervous. He doesn't want anyone to get hurt. They don't want to get in trouble. But don't be afraid to call it. We invited anyone who wanted to, and it happened to be the men who came and helped refinish the picnic tables. Here's another story, a true story. A man told a psychologist years ago, give me a job that if I don't do it, something bad will happen. People want responsibility. Isn't that amazing? Here's another woman who did volunteer work in the office. And now I want to show you what the reg says. It's tag 566. The resident has the right to choose to or refuse to perform service. So it used to read like this. The resident has the right to refuse to work. And the tag title used to be work. Okay. And guess what I think happened? Everybody stopped. But the sentence went on. And the resident has the right to perform services if they want to. So I'm kind of glad they reversed it. A resident does have the right to choose or refuse to perform services. A home must not require a person to perform services. Of course not. We know that. And the resident, the person may perform services if they choose when. Now, I call this a very self-explanatory regulation. We're fortunate here. 1, you have documented the resident's need or desire for this work in their care plan. That's easy. 2, the plan specifies the nature of the services and whether they're going to be voluntary or paid. 3, compensation for paid services are at or above prevailing rates. And 4, the resident agrees to this work arrangement described in the plan of care. So we met Eric. First of all, he said, I get paid at the vending machine every Friday. That's what he agreed to. And let's remind ourselves that sometimes a person living in a nursing home might be younger, might be struggling with getting over an addiction, a mental health problem, and they actually do need a job and they want to get back on their own. So I love that this covers all the ranges. And I think it's fair to ask someone if they want to get paid or not, And we know most people probably don't, but they might really appreciate something else or something from the vending machine or maybe nothing at all. And then prevailing rate is the wage paid to the majority of workers in the community surrounding your home for the same type, quality, and quantity of work requiring comparable skills. And then under the guidance, all work or services provided by a resident, whether voluntary or paid, again, must be in the care plan. Any work assignment must be agreed to, negotiated by the resident or their representative. Resident also has the right to refuse to participate in these services or assignments at any time, of course. A resident's request to work or perform services should be discussed by the team and be clinically and psychologically appropriate for the person. Isn't that great? It's all very doable. And just a couple more things here out of the guidance. Through interviews with residents, resident representatives, and staff, surveyor determine if residents were given a choice as to whether or not they were willing to perform services. During observations, note whether residents are engaged in performing these services like housekeeping, laundry, meal setup, which we've talked about. Review the care plan to ensure it includes the nature of the services, the desire to do so, the objectives, and whether they're provided voluntary or paid. Examples of non-compliance might be the resident or representative did not agree to this work arrangement. Care plan does not specify the nature of the services or whether or not they're voluntary or paid, or, pardon me, compensation for paid services are not at or above prevailing rates. So I'm almost done. Another point I'd love to make, I want to talk about someone who might seem like they don't have a lot to give. Let's say someone who is having to stay in their bed. I'm trying not to say bedbound. Someone who doesn't have a lot to give, right? And I realized, what if we looked at this, that everyone has something to give, and we're going to call it out, and we're going to share it with everyone, and we're going to even get it on the care plan. So let's say Carla loves to give hugs. Maybe she can't talk. And so on the care plan, if you, staff member, team member, like to hug, give her one every time you see her. Beat her to it. I love that. Be proactive, guys, with your love and touch. People need it desperately. And if you're not a big hugger, at least know she might try to give you one. Please accept it if that's okay. And if you really aren't comfortable, then you can politely tell her. But what if, like I've heard people like you all say things like, even Mr. Smith, who can't talk, and you're in his room, there's just something about him. It's peaceful in his room. He smiles. He's not upset all the time. I go into his room to calm down with him. That is huge, guys. That's beautiful. Everyone has something to give, no matter what, I think. So I'd love to hear from you all. I'll get to the chat box here if you have any questions. What is one step maybe you'd be willing to take? Right? You know, as of this point, anything you've learned or been reminded of to move, excuse me, options for volunteering forward. And would you please enter now into the chat box your knowledge before and your knowledge after 1 through 5. And do any of you have any questions or comments or encouragements? Whew, we did it. You can unmute yourselves too. Thank you, Brittany, for putting all those links in. Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Someone ask a question or give a comment, would you please?
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a huge dog person. I don't have my doggo with me today, but he's usually at work with me. And watching, he's a little dog. He's probably about 12 pounds. And watching, when I was at Life Care, watching him interact with the elders, and then watching as I come here and he gets to meet the new vets, which has taken a minute, because they are very excited to see him. And there are a few dogs that run around up here. Good. Watching those interactions and just getting to see how excited they are when he's here, or it's just so squishy. So that when we show the videos and stuff, I get a little damp, I get a little teary.
I love how you talk, Brittany. That reminds me, Brittany, everyone, if you want to move into animals, okay, here's what we've learned. Here's what you could do just to move into it. If I was you, I would put a poster around the building and it would say, calling all animal lovers to a meeting next Tuesday at 2, and see who comes and see what their love is. You said you're a dog person, Brittany. Just start to talk, okay? Then the next idea would be you could do a similar meeting and say, calling all dog lovers. You could do cat lovers. You could do bunny, rabbit lovers. You could do bird lovers. And the beauty of this is that, of course, it should be people who work there, live there, and family, and whoever else you can think of, community members. And look what happens if you have people in the meeting who love these animals, and you then say, who might be willing to help take care of these animals? Guess what they're going to say? Brittany, what would you say?
Say, I think we can make that work.
Yeah, isn't that great? And I'm not even that much of an animal person. Isn't this weird? But I am such an advocate for it. I just see what it does for people. Speaking of bunnies, a home in Fort Collins, Colorado had a bunny, and it changed one person's life. And don't you think one bunny is worth one person? I do. You saw the turtle. And notice I'm not bringing up the aviaries, everyone. They're fine, but they're also passive. And I like to be a voice for something more active, touching, caring for, taking them outside like you saw in the video. But those are just some ideas to get you going. Could more people please put knowledge before and knowledge after? Just reminding you, big goal. We need your help. We'd love it if every person working in a Wyoming nursing home started to get more culture change training. These videos are free. These webinars are free. I am happy to report that our numbers for watching the recording are pretty high. Isn't that great? I just checked for last month, and we've had 27 views since last month. Isn't that great? Also, a big goal is that everyone who lives in a Wyoming nursing home sleeps until they wake up. And some of you are doing it, but someday we hope it's all of you. The word of the month, everyone, is going after the label of feeder. A feeder really is a pig and a cow. Little pigs and cows that are fattened for market are actually called feeders. And that is a really good example of a really bad label. And I'd like to also challenge everyone listening to go even deeper. It's not normal in your home and mine to say, I have to go feed my kid, not that much, or feed myself. So even feeding a person is not quite what we normally say. We might say we have to go feed the animals. So to just challenge ourselves to talk normal, I'm going to go help Brittany eat lunch. I'm going to go eat myself, and then another reg to maybe share, because it's actually in the regs at 550 under respect and dignity. It says avoid labeling people such as feeder and walker. So I'd love to ask you all to put in the chat box, what are some other labels? There's lots of them. I need your help. Will you toss them in the chat box here while I share another two neat quotes? One is, let's label jars, not people. How do you like that? Label jars, not people. And the only label anyone needs is the one their parents have given them. So I'm going to be sending this out on Monday. This is the word of the month. You're welcome, all of you. Everyone will get it, to pass it on, please. And then the culture change principle of the month is this: respond to spirit as well as mind and body. And I always link it with a reg. Did you know on your care plans, you are supposed to be identifying that what services you're going to provide for each resident to attain or maintain their highest practicable level of mental well-being, physical well-being, and psychosocial well-being. Tag 655. Here's the YouTube videos, but you also have links from Brittany. And you know what I'd love to say, everyone? Will you treat this like a movie and maybe watch it at home with your family? And the reason I say that is it's 1 hour, and we need all people of all ages to know how living in a nursing home can really be terrific. And our next webinar next month on October 27th is Family Councils and Engaging Families. So wanderer, diabetic, paraplegic, hoarder, complainer. In fact, I'll just close with this. We're at time. Think of a person who complains a lot as your informant, actually. because don't you want to know what they're thinking before they might tell the ombudsman or a surveyor? Of course you do. So does anyone have anything else at the very end here you'd like to share? Otherwise, I thank you for joining me. Happy Friday. Thanks, everyone.